Helldivers 2 was one of the biggest and best games of 2024, with multiple awards, record-breaking numbers, and an all-round amazing experience. When it comes to a co-op multiplayer shooter, Helldivers 2 is one of the best, and has continued to be one of the best games of 2024. But there are some key events that made it one of the best games of 2024, so today I'm going to go into the top 5 Helldivers 2 events in 2024. Now that the year is over. At number 5, I'm putting Escalation of Freedom. Now this did come with some controversy. There was various balancing issues happening at the same time. The update wasn't what everyone expected it to be. There was a little less content than people I think wanted, but it still came with quite a bit, with various new enemy types, new objectives, new side objectives, new difficulty levels, bigger sized outposts. The update had a lot, and that's why I'm putting it at number 5, because I genuinely enjoyed Escalation of Freedom for what it was. I think it was a move in the right direction for Helldivers 2, especially with all the controversy surrounding it, and Escalation of Freedom was a beacon of hope of what the game could be in the future. Can we fix it? Can we bring players back in? It set a precedent for big updates in Helldivers 2, big events, loads of content. It just so happens that Escalation of Freedom fell a little short at the finish line, but it's still one of my favorite updates for the game and one of the best events in the game. At number 4, I'm putting the Automaton Invasion. Now, for those that were around at the start of the game, you know well enough that the automatons have been there since the very beginning. However, what we were fighting for the first couple of months was actually the automaton vanguard. It was merely an expeditionary force, nowhere near the full scope of the automaton forces. Helldivers fought fiercely on the western side of the galaxy, and when the time came, we got several major orders to push the automatons out of that sector, take planets, take the creek, and push the automatons out. And for a little while, the automatons were not on the map. And then the invasion came. This huge fleet. I remember jumping out of bed, getting on the computer, and just playing it and seeing on the galaxy map this fleet come out of nowhere. And then it's just started to take planet after planet after planet. And it was a hard fought defense to try and hold the line. Remember the Menkent line? The automaton invasion is such a memorable experience for me, which is why I have to put it at number 4. However, there is one experience that is ingrained in the Helldivers 2 culture, and that is number 3 with Malevolent Creek. Who knew one planet would become so infamous in Helldivers culture? For a lot of people, the Creek was the first experience of fighting the bots in Helldivers 2. And for some, it was the only experience of Helldivers 2. Some stayed on Malevolent Creek until it was fully liberated. From day 1 to the day it was liberated, people known as the Creekers were fighting the bots tooth and nail for weeks on end. And it became this sort of meme within the Helldivers community of these people that would just never leave the creek. The dark forests of the creek, the beaming red lights through the tree lines, it was just something else. And we've experienced something similar more recently, which I'll get to, but something about that dark and eerie atmosphere, fighting the bots, which, you know, when it was just the Terminids and the automatons, the bots were the scariest thing in the game for sure. And the idea of sticking on one planet, holding out, making sure it never gets taken, to create this storyline of the creek being one of these key worlds in the galaxy, and for Helldivers to almost push the devs into that same storyline where then we had to take the creek and we had to defend it. When the invasion came in, they said they were making a beeline, I think, for the creek, and we had to stop it, and everyone was freaking out because they thought we were going to fight on the creek again, especially the Creekers. They were going nuts. But Malevolent Creek is just so ingrained in the Helldivers 2 community that it has to be at number 3 on this list. So what could be bigger than the creek? Well, how about Meridia? At number 2, the planet that we turned into a black hole using dark fluid from an ancient enemy that we really knew not a lot about. The Terminids had taken Meridia, made it a super colony, and it was partly our fault when we set up the TCS. It was meant to get rid of the Terminids. Instead, it started mutating them, and it got to a point where it mutated an entire planet. I remember dropping onto Meridia the first time we were allowed since it became a super colony, and just how screwed up it looked compared to how it used to look. It was absolutely crazy. It just looked exactly what you imagined when it comes to a Terminate homeworld. Huge spires, loads of orange lights, a green hue mist around the planet. Very apocalyptic looking. Meridia was just something else. And then we had to have this special event where we injected dark fluid into the planet. Everyone came together to fight and contribute to getting rid of Meridia completely. I think that's one of the very few times everyone has united in Helldivers 2 against one enemy, against one planet. Meridia was definitely a really special event. When people talk about the next big event in Helldivers 2, I think a lot of the time it gets compared to Meridia. Is it as good as Meridia? Does it feel like I'm making as much contribution as I was when I was fighting on Meridia? Meridia was just something really special, and the closest thing we've had to it, and I'd argue it's beaten Meridia, is the Omens of Tyranny update with the Illuminate coming in at number 1. This was by far the best event of the year. They saved the best till last. We got a vehicle, we got new weapons, we got urban environments, and we got the Illuminate, which had been rumored for months and months. I had speculated in several videos being like, Meridia black hole, ooh, that's pretty mysterious. We used an Illuminate thing to basically form this black hole. The Illuminate are going to come out of it, and I was partly right. The Illuminate are such a great addition to the game. They're quite a hard faction to fight, but they're extremely fun. I love the urban environments that came with it. This sort of storyline that they're invading colonies, taking people to make them voteless, which are like these zombie-like enemies. And in my opinion, it was the best event because it just revived Helldivers 2. The player base skyrocketed, and it is staying at this steady number. It was the perfect update for the holiday season. The game has been on sale, a lot more people picked it up, a lot more people have more time to play the game over the holiday season, and what better way to bring in new and old players back into the game than an entirely new faction, entirely new maps, a really fun vehicle. There's just so many things in Omens of Tyranny that are just right. I think they learned a lot at Arrowhead from Escalation of Freedom, the mistakes they made with that update. The game's at a really good balancing level now, which meant when Omens of Tyranny came out, the game was just near perfect. I think it really captured the essence of that first couple weeks of Helldivers 2 when it released in February, of just the complete hyperfixation on Helldivers 2. And since the updates come out, we've had several other things happen in the game. We've obviously had the Festival of Reckoning, which is basically Christmas in the Helldivers universe, and Meridia is changing, forming into something else. The black hole is just getting more scary. And I think very early on in 2025, we're going to see the Illuminate come in full force, like we did with the Automaton invasion. Right now, they're just sort of picking at planets, forming this army out of our own people. And once they've built those numbers up, once people are ready to fight the full force of the Illuminate, they're going to come right out that black hole. I reckon we're going to see new enemy types when that happens for the Illuminate. It's going to be a great time. I can't wait for future updates for Helldivers 2 in 2025. It has been my favorite game of 2024 for sure. The memories I've created in this game, the amount of videos I've done on the game, it's just been a really fun experience. I've loved Helldivers 2. The good, the bad, the ugly. I've loved every moment of this game and talking about it, and I can't wait to do more of it in 2025. So if you want to see more Helldivers 2 content, subscribe for more, like the video if you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite event in Helldivers 2 was in 2024. I'd love to hear it. Do you agree with this top 5? What would you change if you changed anything? Let me know in the comments down below. Become a member today if you want to support me in another way. You'll get early access videos and live streams. And thank you so much for watching this and every other video I've made on Helldivers 2 in 2024. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!